begin to fall. I wish that it could be a merry little Christmas for one and all. And when I hear choirs on the street, so full of Christmas cheer, I pray this is the start of all our dreams. So if Santa, you're listening, please, can you bring joy and peace on earth? If Santa, you're listening, please, can you bring love enough for the world? Bells, they will be ringing, every heart just singing. So if Santa, you're listening, please, can you bring joy and peace on earth? If Santa, you're listening, please, can you bring love enough for the world? Then bells, they will be ringing, and every heart just singing. I see snow begin to fall, I wish that it could be a merry little Christmas for one and all. And when I hear choirs on the street, so full of Christmas cheer, I pray this is the start of all our dreams. So if Santa, you're listening, please, can you bring joy and peace on earth? If Santa, you're listening, please, can you bring love enough for the world? Bells, they will be ringing, every heart just singing.
Welcome to the live stream. I am Keith, and sorry I'm a little bit late. I was getting ready to test a clip and realized that I rendered it at the wrong frame rate, so it wasn't going to play on tonight's live stream. So I've rendered it. I'm going to save this Adobe file, pull the disk out. Let's hope. And we'll put this in slot 2 and we'll see if that's going to play here tonight. But welcome to the live stream. We have a great stream tonight. We have 3 things that we're going to do tonight. I have a little video, so I thought it would be really fun to produce a little video that's kind of like you came to my house. So even though it's not a tour of the whole space, it is definitely an opportunity for you to feel like you've been in our Christmas decorations, because my wife Shannon has done an amazing job. I try to just do a decent job here in the studio. You can see I have things on the shelf, and I've got the days left to Christmas right there. Even though I didn't use Skycam tonight, I showed you clips of what we're going to see later. So if you're watching the intro video, you saw all of that. So in just a minute, we're going to welcome everybody in the chat, give everybody a couple more minutes to get on, and then I will start saying hi in the chat. It looks like everything's ready to go with the chat. So little bit where we're going tonight, and then I'll review it one more time before we get there. We have some information about a acquisition from Rode, and we're going to talk about that tonight, what that looks like. I have my teleprompter right here in front of me, even though I'm using my confidence monitor like normal, but I do have my prompter by Elgato right here in front of me. I'm just not projecting my program out right now. I could do that through OBS, but I'm not. I'm going to have this so that I can take you guys through some of the things about that Rode acquisition. And then we're going to talk about the pros and cons of the ATEM Mini line. That's right. I've had a lot of clients and different people reaching out. My fastest growing video is the ATEM Mini Pro getting started. And so before I do my new video on getting started with the ATEM Extreme ISO, and then also I'll apply that to the new SDI models. Tonight, I want to talk about the pros and cons of all of those mini devices. So we'll review those in a little while, which ones we're going to talk about today. I have some slides ready. So it should be a pretty thorough look at the ATEM Mini pros and cons, so you can make a decision. Maybe you already have one. Hopefully, I'll point out something possibly tonight that those of you that regularly attend will not be aware of, or maybe we could talk about it and you can ask questions. But spent some quality time studying all those products over the last number of months. And we're just going to focus on the mini line, which seems like that's what most everybody is purchasing. And so then we have a little tour of the house, and it's going to be like coming in the front, going through the main living room, dining room, entry area. And obviously you can see in the studio, maybe later tonight, I will fire up Skycam, which is up there right now, and maybe give you a little tour of the studio in here because I didn't use Skycam in the intro tonight. So again, we're going to talk about the ATEM Mini line, the pros and cons of all of those, both the regular ATEM Mini, Mini Pro ISO, the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO, the ATEM Mini Pro SDI, and the ATEM Mini Pro SDI ISO, and then the Extreme SDI and the Extreme SDI ISO. So there's lots of different ATEM Minis that are available. There's a lot of differences between these devices, and that's what we're going to focus on tonight to maybe help you make a decision if you should get one or the other, or maybe not at all. There's also devices that we talked about, so you can go back in the last couple weeks. You can learn more about the prompter, which I'm using by Elgato. You can learn a little bit more about the Studio Live console by PreSonus. We'll be doing more videos and talking more about that in 2024. And actually, we'll be taking you with me to some live events, that'll be fun. As well as I talked a little bit about the Magewell device, and now YOLO Box has come out with a new device. You can go check out that on Aaron Parecki's channel. So lots and lots of things going on right now, and even some new exciting information as we talk about Rode's acquisition this week, and then we compare the ATEMs as well as do a little tour of the house here shortly. So, okay, let's go into the chat. You put chat on the air. Hank had checked in earlier, so it's good to have you, Hank. Here's the update. Where do you hail from, Hank? Like, see, there was another update I thought Hank made, but maybe not. It's good to have you here, Doug, from Forced Online. And then we'll go down here. Doug says he's from Tennessee. DJ Ware is here in the house. It's good to have you, DJ Ware. David from Down Under, it's great to have you here as well. And then let's double check my phone because this thing doesn't populate as fast, but it looks like everybody that I have online right now, I've said hi to. Good evening, David. Good to have you as well. And so I think that's it, Hank. Doug from Forced Online. Stop and Think is Hank. David, good evening to you as well. And then we have, let's see, DJ Ware in the house and David. So make sure you check out each one of these guys' channels and subscribe if you haven't already. It is great to be having growth. My channel has grown by about 75 members already in a month. That's about double from what I'm used to. So that's exciting. And I sure appreciate you guys hitting the like button and helping me out there. That sure means a lot. So I actually have seen a few of the live streams get a lot of likes, and it really does help. One of my most popular live streams is the one on embedding audio last week. So evidently, that's a good thing. So if you didn't watch last week's, I used this HDMI to SDI 6G converter. Now there are some silent spots in that video. I left it up live. I did not edit it. And the reason for that is I have a macro that sets my audio back to my main mic input on my Extreme ISO. And so even though I was switching over to an HDMI input using Rodecaster embedded audio, and if you know anything about embedded audio, you can come right from your sound device, whatever it is. If you have an interface in your studio, Rodecaster Pro, maybe you're using a Mackie device, maybe you're using a PreSonus device. Like I have the Studio Live as well in my studio, but my main interface in this studio is the Rodecaster Pro version 2. When I started live streaming 3 years ago, I was using the original Rodecaster Pro, and then I actually have it going into a host switch so I can send it to 3 different locations. So we hooked up 2 1/4-inch outputs to this and hooked my main camera right here to the HDMI input, embedded the audio, and it wasn't quite syncing up. And then we came out SDI into my HyperDeck. I could come out to another converter, so SDI to HDMI converter by Blackmagic Design, but I was able to use my HyperDeck as a converter going from SDI to HDMI, and then I brought that into my ATEM Mini, not using the mic inputs. I was using the HDMI input and embedding audio, and supposedly the vote came in and it looked like 50-50 said that they couldn't hear a difference or they were the same, and then the other 50% all said that they thought the audio from this embedded audio was better. And I would think it would be because this does not have to use the converters in the mic inputs of the ATEM Minis, and that is where the big issue is. There's a lot of noise in those converters in all of the ATEM Mini line, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later as we talk about pros and cons. So get your questions ready about the ATEM Mini lines, and if you have any questions burning, let's try to answer those tonight. We're going to do that here in just a few minutes, but before we do that, I want to talk just a little bit about, see if anybody else has popped in here. Want to make sure I said hi. Yeah, we have, if it'll ever populate over here, I'll just go ahead and say Lieutenant A.K. Allen's in the house, but I do not have it in my display chat. So again, there seems to have been some issues with Aaron Parecki's chat plugin, and I'm waiting for it to refresh, and sometimes it refreshes and sometimes it doesn't. So not sure what's happening there, but I do see you on my phone chat. Eric, I see you as well. And so once this populates, I will put your guys' chat on the screen, or we will fix it and do it again. So again, want to welcome everybody to tonight's live stream. And you can see it is Christmas in the studio. I had my Christmas track in the intro. We're going to play our regular track in the outro, but you're going to hear that Christmas track here shortly because we are going to attempt to play my little Christmas at the Bennetts. So you're going to get a chance to hear that track again. It is a great song and it's got the Christmas flavor to it, and you'll get to see clips back to back here. Coming into the house, going through the main part of my house and see all of the decorations that my wife Shannon has made. And we were talking about that this week, so let's just talk about that before we jump into this acquisition by Rode. But we were talking and I was saying, so what motivated you to be, well, first of all, my wife loves Christmas, and so that's one issue, right? She absolutely loves it. I enjoy Christmas as well. I have a great experience, great stories growing up with my family. So that for me is a great holiday. I know other people are celebrating other holidays during this season. I have friends that celebrate Hanukkah, and obviously different ways of celebrating, different expressions around the world. I get that. Just like if I go to my next door neighbor's house, he's into going off-roading. He's got a big Odyssey, and he's cleaning it all the time in a big truck. And you see us with our little SUVs. And so obviously just lifestyles in general, but I love the holidays. Finally, my chat updated here. So we'll say hi to Lieutenant A.K. Allen from California. Eric's good to have you as well. And Doug is saying hi to, DJ Ware is saying hi to everyone tonight. So nice to have this thing finally populate. So my wife said that she had an older woman when she was younger, say to her that it's your responsibility. Now, you could agree or disagree with this. I'm just telling you her story. It's your responsibility to set the atmosphere in your home. And obviously, the woman that had influence in her life was connected to their family. Shannon had a huge respect for her. They were very family-oriented. She was a stay-at-home mom, from what Shannon was telling me. And so, obviously, she was home all the time. It wasn't like a dual working family or a guy staying at home with the kids like some of the younger generation. But in those days, it was stay at home. And so she shared that with Shannon, and it just stuck with my wife. So she's always had a passion for decorating the house. And so in the fall, in the summer, in the seasons like Christmas, and then the winter season, we have lots of snowman, and then we can augment that with Christmas decorations. And so it's just beautiful in the house. We have our big screen TV that I turn on fireplaces. You can see a fireplace on over my shoulders on my big screen TV in here. So just lots of fun. We'll start recording. So those of you that will remind me. So, but with that said, I want to just say that we have just a great atmosphere. So before the calendar switched to December, we were already putting up our decorations. We have people in our neighborhood who are already putting lights on their house. Now, we don't do a ton of lights on our house, but we definitely decorate inside the house and have things all dialed in. And so that's kind of a fun experience if you're here in the Bennetts. So let's see if I have this clip available. Just hit play here and see. Yep. So it's working. So I'm going to roll this clip just to invite you guys, now that you're here and joining me. It's going to be like a trip through the house. And so I hope you enjoy that. It's 2 songs long. So sit back and enjoy this, and we'll move into the Rode conversation and the ATEM conversation. But I wanted to invite you to have a little bit of moments in the Bennett's house, having Christmas with the Bennetts. And this is the best way to do that tonight. So let's roll this.
I see snow begin to fall. I wish that it could be a merry little Christmas for one and all. And when I hear choirs on the street, so full of Christmas cheer, I pray this is the start of all our dreams. So if Santa, you're listening, please can you bring joy and peace on earth? If Santa, you're listening, please can you bring love enough for the world? Bells, they will be ringing, every heart just singing. So if Santa, you're listening, please can you bring joy and peace on earth? If Santa, you're listening, please can you bring love enough for the world? Then bells, they will be ringing, and every heart just singing. to fall. I wish that it could be a merry little Christmas for one and all. And when I hear choirs on the street, so full of Christmas cheer, I pray this is the start of all our dreams. So if Santa, you're listening, please, can you bring joy and peace on earth? If Santa, you're listening, please, can you bring love enough for the world? Bells, they will be ringing, every heart just singing. So if Santa, you're listening, please, can you bring joy and peace on earth? If Santa, you're listening, please, can you bring love enough for the world? Then bells, they will be ringing, and every heart just singing.
Well, I told you, the environment that my wife creates for me is amazing, and I'm semi-retired, but I have my business. I did a consult yesterday, and Thursday I'll be up in Natchez again. We're trying to coordinate a concert up there. I have some friends that are quite talented, and they've agreed to go up there with me. It's about an hour and a half away, so we want to like give a Christmas concert to the community. So we're looking for a venue, so we're still working out the details. But I'll be up there Thursday, scouting it out, and it'll be fun. So hopefully, I'll be able to take you guys with me to a live Christmas event before the end of the year. But nothing is solidified yet. So, and I see lots of comments. So evidently, people think my wife is talented. So let's see here. Big screen fireplace. Yeah. That's a picture postcard. Well, thank you. I will tell Shannon that. Eric, I appreciate that. The snow decoration looks so real. Yeah, my wife can even make it snow. So it was funny. That's the only snow we've had. It was on the ground for about a day and a half. And it was after I announced to you guys that I was going to shoot a video. And so I planned today I wanted to shoot it. And guess what? I got up that morning and it was snowing. So I shot some footage. Some of the footage was after the snow stopped, but I got all the window footage, the out front footage, and it turned out pretty stinking amazing. And I said this in response to Eric. Yeah, wow, your wife is amazing. Yeah, thank you. I am very blessed. Married 42 years to my wife, Shannon. She tolerates all of my creative craziness, and we talk about it all the time. But she's a creative too, and she works on Tuesday right here out of the house. So that entrance that you guys saw, we have clients coming and going. I think I've shared with you in the past that my wife is a midwife, and she has an office here at home, and then she does births with women at home. And so she's been doing that for about 12, 13 years. She's amazing at it. And I am very, very, very honored and blessed to be married to her. Yeah, the knitted nativity scene is so, my wife, actually my wife's mom, which you guys met her through, I don't think she's been on my channel, maybe one time over my shoulder, but she did the embroidery and helped me build the covers for my studio live console. And she knitted those nativity characters, and it's so my grandkids, both the ones I've adopted and the ones that are like our kids and our friends' families that come over, clients, play with those. And so it just gives them something that's, you know, not destructible to play with. So that was my response to Shannon. Yeah, thank you, DJ Ware. She is very talented. This is making me feel way more festive. Thank you for inviting us into your home. Yeah, so, yeah, I hope that little video, yeah, she's a keeper. I hope that video gives you a tangible thank you from my heart to yours. Obviously, the holidays has always been for me a strategic time that I can show appreciation for friends. They seem to be more open to it. I like to try to do coffee with a lot of people that I haven't really spent much time with during the season because we get so busy. Things slow down in the wintertime for some of us. And so I've had a couple of those coffees in the last couple of weeks. I was in Sunnyside about 50 miles away yesterday, having coffee with a good friend of mine I've known since I was in my late 20s. We did some camps together when I was younger. I also had coffee with an artist that came up through our studio and was one of my producers. And he did a concert on Sunday morning. He was playing keys and singing some backup for a local church. And I took my wife, we went over there, I videotaped it. And I'm going to see if I can get permission to show that for you, but it was just a gift to him for Christmas. So for the gal that put it on at that church and for my friend Fraser, it was my opportunity to use my skill set and my tool. So I invaded their little lobby, set up my tripod, set up my EOS R, and it was quite fun. Used a boom mic just to pick up the room sound, and I edited it yesterday mostly. And if I can get permission to share it on my live stream, I will share that with you. So it's a season to say thank you. So thank you for joining me each week live. Thank you for liking the videos. Thank you for supporting the channel. It means the world to me. It's my opportunity to help the YouTube world. Obviously, people come over here from Twitter and Facebook because I do invites. And hopefully they can find something here on the channel that helps them learn more about some of this technology that we're all around, because that's really my desire. Obviously, my channel is monetized, so thank you so much for watching those videos. It's sure not a ton of money, but it's sure exciting to know that all this work is giving me a little bit of residual income and doesn't cover anywhere near the expense of the channel, but it is. It feels like it's a community supporting what I'm doing, and that makes me feel really good. So, okay. So some news came out. I don't see anybody new in the chat. So let's dive in here to some news that came out. Let me put a, let's see, how am I going to do this? Let's do this. I'm going to minimize, let's just close this. And by the way, that video you watched, I was rendering it in the last 3 minutes of our intro video tonight. So I had rendered it incorrectly at 59 frames per second, 59 and some change. And it was supposed to be at 29 and some change. And my disc that has my intro and outro video on it would not read it. It would only read the videos that were rendered at the same frame rate, and it would not do that. So I'm waiting for that to save before I go to that. But let me put this still image up here. I'm going to just put this up over my face. So the Friedman Group is evidently the group right now that is making all of these companies come together. So the news is that Rode has acquired Mackie. This is a big, big deal, I think, for the industry. So for me, I think it's something I wanted to cover tonight because it just happened, and I woke up to this news today. And so I thought I would break that news with each of you. And so those are the companies that are together now. And we're going to talk just a little bit about that. I hope that you guys are interested in this, because I want to talk about the impact that this acquisition with Rode purchasing or acquiring through this Freedom Group, merger, whatever you want to call it. So I have my teleprompter open tonight, but I wanted to go to this real quick, see that it's official. Rode acquires pro audio leader Mackie. And so you can go to this website. I'm going to copy both these links in the description below. So if you're watching this live, they're not there now, but they will be after we're off live. And so this is directly from their webpage. And then if you go over to, let's see, Mackie's page, then you have the same news right here. Rode acquires pro audio leader Mackie, and this is exactly from the Mackie site. So this is real information. This is legit. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about this and see if you guys have any input at all in regards to this merger. And right now I'm just looking for, so let's see, am I at the right speed? Let's go. I'm going to use the prompter. So here we go. I'm going to hit play. And so Rode Microphones LLC has today announced that the acquisition of iconic American pro audio leader Mackie. The acquisition represents a new chapter in the evolution of Rode and establishes the Freedom Group, parent company of Rode, as one of the most well-rounded pro audio companies in the world, with an inviolable catalog of products spanning a wide range of audio solutions for content creation, home and studio recording, broadcast, and live sound production. So in reality, it's exciting because I use Rode products. I have Rode microphones. I have a Rodecaster Pro 1, 2, 2s, and this is exciting information. So it says this, continuing, I'm absolutely thrilled to welcome Mackie to the Freedom Group's roster of iconic audio brands, says founder and chairman Peter Friedman. They are true legends with a pedigree of live sound experts that is simply unmatched. Today, Rode and Mackie are both leaders in audio, and we share the same passion for creating innovative, high-quality products with a strong customer focus. With this acquisition, the Freedom Group is now a premier audio technology company offering world-class products to an even wider range of customers, from up-and-coming content creators to professional working in live production and everyone in between. Since 1989, Mackie has been a leading designer and manufacturer of pro audio products, including mixers, loudspeakers for home, studio and stage use, and integral player in the home recording revolution in the 1990s. Mackie quickly made a name for itself as a highly innovative brand with a focus on built like a tank quality and affordability. Groundbreaking products like the 602 and the D8B mixers, the SRM 450 loudspeakers were instant classics, and combined with a unique approach to marketing, establishing Mackie as a go-to brand in the recording and live sound industries. A status they uphold today with leading products like the Pro FX series of compact mixers, the Thump series of powered loudspeakers, and the popular CR series of desktop production monitors. Mackie is one of the great success stories in pro audio, and I admired them. I'm just reading this. I admired them for a long time, says Mr. Friedman. My background is in live sound production. It's something I've always been passionate about ever since I saw Tom Jones at the Chevron Hotel in Sydney as a kid back in '69. My father, Henry, installed the sound system there, as well as many other venues across the city. Live sound is where I cut my teeth in audio, so this very much feels like the part of career coming full circle. He continues, having met Greg Mackie before even starting Rode, I found his passion for audio and approach to business inspiring. Their origin story is uncannily similar to ours. Both brands help fuel wow, don't even know what that says, DIY recording in their own way. Mackie with the mixers and speakers, and Rode with their microphones. We shared a similar path, and today both brands are leaders in what we do. So I'm incredibly excited to bring these two audio icons together. Speaking about the acquisition, Alex Nelson, CEO of Mackie, says the entire Mackie team is excited to be joining forces with Peter, Damien, and their incredible crew. Having worked in the audio industry for many years, I have always held Rode in high esteem. Their manufacturing capability and technology leadership is second to none in pro audio, and I think they are the perfect partner to help Mackie expand as we enter an exciting new chapter in our history. Also, the timing could not be better. We have an incredible product roadmap ahead of us, which will be making some big announcements for leading up to NAMM 2024. This is an extremely exciting time for Mackie, and we couldn't be happier doing all this alongside Rode's team. So there you go. That's a little bit of prompter reading and a little bit more about some of these industry leaders. There's more here, but I'm not going to continue reading this. And so let's hit pause on that teleprompter. So what are your thoughts? What do you think is going to change now that Rode has acquired Mackie? And you can already see as you look at this that they've already purchased. Rode has already acquired some important things. Like if you look at this slide again, they have Aphex, which is built into their products now. And so Aphex was a company that built interfaces, not interfaces, but built analog gear for radio. So they had the Arew exciter effect, they had the big bottom effect, and that was built into the original Rodecaster Pro. You got Soundfield, you got Event, you got Rode, you got Mackie, and they're all now a part of this Freedom group, and that seems to be pretty exciting if you ask me. So let me give you my thoughts, and then we'll go to the chat. I think that Mackie focusing mainly on live sound, home studio sound, and things like that. Obviously, they've done other things as well. I have lots of friends that use Mackie. I've been kind of Rodecaster Pro and Studio Live, and been around Mackie almost my whole life. I've worked on older analog Mackie consoles. I've even worked recently with some Mackie digital consoles. I've used their iPad app. I've also now played around with Presonus's apps for the iPhone and for the iPad, and it's just an interesting merger because it seems like they are on the same path, but doing specifically different things. Some of it crosses, obviously, so hopefully maybe they'll see some more people join that group. And we all know what happens when a mall full of businesses are all together indoors, working together. Hopefully this will be very much like that, great things will come out of this. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Mackie and Rode has to say in NAMM 2024. Okay. I will definitely tell this to Shannon, so I appreciate that comment. Thank you for the read off the prompter compliment. That's my second read from a prompter. Good to have you, Joe. If you go back tonight and watch the video, I did a 2-song walk through the house, kind of an invitation for you and everybody else to come in the front porch, in the front door, see what Shannon's done with decorations, and then right back out the front door. And then obviously I have things decorated as well. So it's good to have you. And it's always an honor and a privilege to have you here, Joe, from Tech from Fun. NAMM 2024 sounds like there's going to be some great announcements. I would agree with that, Eric. And I'd love to know what you think they're going to come up with. We obviously can experience this together next year. I plan on being here next year. Sounded like Rode and Mackie had been working together sometime before. Yeah, it seems like they had some mutual respect. I don't know if they worked on any projects specifically before, but I would agree with that, DJ, where I think some of these companies do collaborate. You know, think about it. If you invent something and you're trying to be in that lane, obviously it's both competitive. But what I've learned over the years working in sales for over 2 decades, before I retired, even working in a bit of sales the last 1.5 years as a private contractor, is that competition, if it's handled correctly, can actually be motivational. It gives you some push. We need someone. It's no fun to run around a track with no competition. I mean, you could use a clock and go for your best time, but in reality, as soon as you put people on the track, it changes everything. I'll never forget when I got a chance to go to the motorcycle track when I was younger, and I got to be on that track with 3 local pro riders that practice out there. We had a mutual friend. They invited me on the track. I, of course, got lapped by the 3rd lap around the track, but I rode faster than I've ever rode before, actually, and almost wrecked because they pushed me to my limit. I'm very competitive by nature, so it doesn't surprise me that I came into a near accident off a jump. I did not get my weight forward, so back tire hit, front hit down, and I almost flew off the motorcycle, but I was able to hang on for my dear life. Busted through some sagebrush, and if you don't know what that is, that's like brush that grows in the desert here. And some of those sagebrushes were as tall as my bike, and I blasted through a couple of those, and yet I did survive. So, okay, DJ Ware says he had a Mackie VLZ 16-channel mixer. I actually have a Mackie mixer in my garage right now. I will bring it into a future live stream and let you guys see that. It's my portable rig. It's analog, but it does have some digital effects built in. And so, yeah, I'm very familiar with the Mackie products as well. Hank says, my first speaker system was Mackie. Good news. Sorry I missed it. I will watch it replay. Was on a call. Well, it's good to have you, Joe, and never worry about being late. Just join me live, join the chat, go back and watch later. Don't watch later. I just appreciate you guys being here, and we have some fun stuff to talk about tonight. Just to let you know, we're going after we're done talking about this merger or / acquisition, the language that they're using. We are going to talk about the pros and cons of the ATEM Mini line. I've spent probably 5 hours today preparing for tonight's live stream. It's not going to be long, but I hope that it'll be very thorough. So if you're watching this and you want to know more, that's coming up here in just a few minutes. So hopefully later there'll be chapter markers if you're watching this later recorded. Eric says, I know Mackie DLZ and the Rodecaster were starting to compete with one another. Skills to design, get that out of the way, manufactures those devices combined into one outfit means interesting new products of the USB digital mixer. Yeah, I am really feeling good about this. So I don't want to toot my own horn, which is always a statement that most people make before they're going to toot it. But I always felt like in my life and my friends and my surrounding posse or inner circle, outer circle people always come up and say, how did you know that was going to happen? So I didn't know this acquisition was going to happen, but I had a feeling that we were going to see some things shake up again in 2023. I was kind of surprised I hadn't seen it already. So when I woke up and read this, I went, okay, there it is. Everybody was diving into this post shutdown era that we were in, home office working, Zoom calls, Microsoft meetings, working from home, live streaming, all of that changed, and all of these new products that came out. I really felt like there were going to be some pretty big boys joining together, big gals, people that are influencing the industry of equipment, joining forces and realizing that they are better together than they are apart. And so this feels like a healthy merger, not a hostile takeover. In reality, it sounds to me like an acquisition where Rode is acquiring this product, and I think it's a good move for Rode. We'll see. Time will tell. Okay. Glad I survived the sagebrush as well. Thank you for carrying there, Eric. Okay, so any other comments, questions about Rode? Let me, if you just came on, let me close down my teleprompter here. And so here's the official Mackie page. Here's the official Rode page. They both have articles. You can go there and read it. We'll all have to watch this together. I will try to give you guys an update in January, February, March or so, 2024. I will keep my eye on this and see if there isn't more information that we can talk about. So, okay, let me just go ahead and use this super source, and let me change what input 2 is. If I can find my mouse over here. Okay, super source, which I love. We are going to do, what do I want to do here? Can't do media player 2, so it's going to have to be media player 1. Cool. So it's going to be my logo, but let's just dive in here. Let's see what slide. Let's drop this slide in first. So, wow. What happened there? Turn the key off. There we go. So as you can see here, there are multiple ATEM Minis. And so I'm going to talk just a few minutes about the ATEM Mini line. And if you are been around Blackmagic Design, I've been in and around Blackmagic Design for a bunch of years, not near as much as some of the other live streamers that I've watched, like Aaron Parecki and John Barker. They were using them when the ATEM Mini came out. I was doing research when the ATEM Mini was out. You couldn't get them. They were all sold out. So I was doing research. I was preparing to order an ATEM Mini because I was using a cam link by Elgato. And I think we've talked about it before. I saw it in the drawer here. So with a cam link, you can take an HDMI and bring a camera like my EOS R into your laptop. So it's HDMI, it's 4K capable. So you could stream up to 4K or record in Final Cut Pro or Adobe Premiere, or record on your computer using free software. And you can go USB 3, and it needs to be a fast USB 3.0 port because it's up to 4K. And Elgato has apps to help you record. And this is how I was streaming originally. So I was actually streaming with this, or doing some videos with this. And I was waiting to find something, and I'd looked at Roland products. I'd used Roland products before. And so I was looking at theirs, but they didn't seem to do what I wanted them to do. And I was looking for a device that could be more than a switcher, because I knew live streaming, you need to encode and stream through your network at home. And so I was looking for a solution. I almost pulled the trigger on an ATEM Mini, and then the ATEM Mini Pro was announced. And so after the ATEM Mini Pro was announced, and there are some differences, we're going to cover them here in a minute. Then they came out with the ATEM Mini Pro ISO. So all three of them are there on the screen. You can see them right up there. So you got the ATEM Mini, ATEM Mini Pro on the other side, ATEM Mini Pro ISO on the bottom. And what this did for the industry is it gave people a small switcher with keying ability, with a media player for lower thirds, that they could then use 4 inputs. You could bring your laptop in, you could bring an Xbox in, a PlayStation in, a camera. It did not have a USB input, but it did have a USB-C output. And so you could use it as a webcam. And so the ATEM Mini when it came out by Blackmagic Design was just a great little device. So now you had the ability to have no latency when you were switching. You could do transitions. You could do picture-in-picture. You had a couple 3.5 jack mic inputs. You had a key that could do DVE. It could do chroma keying for green screen. It could do luma keying for just regular static graphics. And then it also could do some effects, put yourself in a box. And then it had lots of cool transitions and a really great device, but you would have to bring it into your computer. And so it didn't have multi-view. It just had program out. It had clean HDMI out, it had program out, and there was a couple other channels that you could switch to on that device. But things changed. Actually, no, I think it just had program out. I never owned one. I don't think you had a matrix, because you can see on the screen right now that top video or that top picture right there. There is no little matrix on the far right. And so you can see the buttons that were added. And then after that, they came out with the 8-channel ATEM Extreme. And then they came out with Pro. And then they came out with the Extreme ISO. And that was the first 5. And then shortly after that, they came out with SDI versions. And the SDI versions, because the form factors were pretty much the same, they had space to do some extra things. And we're going to talk about those extra things as well tonight. But so 3 ATEMs, then they came out with the bigger boys. And I think I have a slide here that I will drop in. Let's see, where are you? Right here. And then I'm going to have to change what's behind me because I need to see this full screen. So what am I going to do here? Let me go program up here. So I can see this slide as well. So I made this slide today to kind of talk about some of the major differences. So on the top left, you can see I have an ATEM Mini Pro picture there. So it's not the ATEM Mini device, because in reality, that device did not have multi-view. And if you don't know what multi-view is, when they originally came out, do I have that slide in here? Let me grab it real quick. Let's see. This is multi-view for the bigger, no, that's multi-view for the ATEM Mini Pro. So when the ATEM Mini Pro came out, you had multi-view, and then you could actually bring in the USB C port into your laptop or your PC or your Mac, and then you could have a confidence monitor, because you'd have to choose multi-view if you wanted multi-view and then run that out of the HDMI output. But you had 4 HDMI inputs. The first one was high speed, low latency. So you could literally go from the input number 1 out, the HDMI out if you were a gamer, and then you could have a monitor with no latency or literally 0 latency. And so if you were gaming while you were keying yourself into your live stream, then you could bring your Xbox in or your PlayStation and out again to a big monitor. And then you could also then have yourself on the lower thirds and then record that through the Pro, post it later, or go live on Twitch. And so gamers loved it. Live streamers loved it, because with 4 inputs and now you had the ability to record the program out, it was pretty huge. So multi-view became available on the ATEM Mini Pro, but multi-view was not available in the regular ATEM Mini. Multi-view was also available in the ATEM Mini Pro ISO. So back to my slide right here. So on the top left there, you can see the list: ATEM Mini, the ATEM Mini Pro, Pro ISO, 4 HDMI inputs, 1 output, 2 mic line inputs, 1 upstream key that could do luma, chroma, pattern, and you had 1 DVE. And then you had 2 downstream keys. That is a typo. 1 downstream key, I apologize. But we're going to hear pretty soon that there was more than that, those outputs available on the SDI version. So that's a typo, so disregard that. But so 1 downstream key, 1 upstream key, 1 media player, and 1 USB-C webcam out for the Pro and the ISO. So So basically the Mini had no encoding, the Mini had no multi-view, the Mini had no ability to send out the encoding and stream live, had no ability to record inside the box. You would have to come out of the HDMI into a computer, like using a cam link, or use the USB-C out as a webcam and then record that H.264 output of your program using the USB-C output. But the ATEM Mini Pro and the ATEM Mini Pro ISO, the Pro added all the streaming ability, the encoding ability. It added the ability to have a little matrix on the front so you can switch between multi-view in the output. You can see it up there on the top. I have a box around the record and the streaming buttons, and I also have a box around that little matrix, again, right up there on the top of the screen. And so you could switch between channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4, and you could go program or multi-view out. Then that also allowed you, when the ISO came out, to not just record the program, but the ISO ATEM Mini Pro would actually let you record all 4 of the inputs, as well as the still images, as well as the program out. And when you were done, you could choose if you wanted to record ISO tracks or not. I have that ability now on my Extreme ISO. And then you could take that and edit that down later, and it actually makes an XML file that you can bring into DaVinci Resolve, and you can actually then re-edit it in DaVinci Resolve. You can replace those H.264 files, because they only record, all these ATEM Minis only record in H.264, and they can record at HyperDeck High. So it's quite a big file if you do go HyperDeck High. There's 6 settings. You have regular, low, medium, and high, and then you have HyperDeck low, medium, and high. And obviously the files get bigger and bigger as you go. So with that said, the ISO would create, if you set it to record ISO tracks, it made a folder. You could bring that into DaVinci Resolve. You could change where you made your transitions. So if you messed up in your recording, you could fix it later. And then you could also replace it with the footage on your Blackmagic Design camera. So if you hit record in your cameras, or if you had your cameras connected, then you could start record from inside the control software that Blackmagic Design gives you free when you buy any of their devices that are designed to switch. And they don't charge really for any of their software. They do have a pro version of DaVinci Resolve, but you can even download DaVinci Resolve, the basic program, for free. So you could take those files from your ATEM Mini Pro ISO, take that off of your SD drive, and I've always recorded on these Samsung ScanDisk SSDs, and they've gotten faster. The first one I bought was 700 megabytes a second. Now they're over 1,000. Now they're getting even faster. But you can record on this from the HDMI out of, or the USB-C out of your ATEM Mini Pro, ATEM Mini Pro ISO. And if you have an ISO and you set it to record ISO tracks, it will record all of that, put it in a folder, and then you can import that into DaVinci Resolve and edit it later. And again, you could actually replace that edit with your Blackmagic Design files from your Blackmagic Design camera. So if you have a cinema camera, pocket cinema camera, whatever you have by Blackmagic Design, you could then use the 4K footage to fix that 1080p edit into a 4K edit. So lots of people have been doing that. I don't really edit in DaVinci Resolve, even though I played with it before. But that's a great feature if you buy a ISO. So then Blackmagic Design decided to turn up the heat, and they came out with the new Extreme. So now you have 8 inputs, you have 2 HDMI outputs, you have a matrix on the front. I have it circled on the bottom right, and then you have a matrix on the top, so you could change what you're sending into your keys. So all of those keys that you have, and we'll talk about how many keys, upstream keys and downstream keys you have, as well as some buttons on there that work. Some of the buttons don't work, but in reality, it's designed to be an extra matrix. And then you added the ability to have a clean program view coming through your channel HDMI output number 1. And then you have another HDMI out that you can change inside the software, and I'll show you that right now. So make sure I'm not showing my streaming key. But so if we switch over here, let's drag this software over. Got to go 2 monitors now with my prompter. So up here in outputs on the top, I can go into output 1. That also can be controlled from the matrix on the front of the Extreme and the Extreme ISO. And I have my downward camera. I'll show you guys here in a minute right on my desk. I have the ATEM Mini Pro and the Extreme ISO on my desk. So we'll go to that in a minute. So output number 1 can be controlled from the software of the desk, and output number 2 can be controlled from the software only. And so that's not the greatest way to do live events. You pretty much always probably need to have a PC or a laptop or whatever, a Mac, when you are at a live venue. If you really want to take full advantage of any of these devices, you can do lots of it from the desk. You could preload it. You can save the files. And again, after firmware is over a period of time, you can save under File, Save, Startup State. And that means that all of your media pool and all that would be ready to go. And the media pool would be there when you got to the venue, and you would be able to use these graphics. You wouldn't have the ability to drag and drop, but you can go up to media player, and then you can select them right here. And so you would still have to have a laptop if you wanted to change what you are displaying on the screen, or a PC or a Mac at a live venue, because I don't know how else you could get in there. You could take a little network with you, and you could use Mixify on your iPad. So that would mean that you could control these things with an iPad. Mixify, which is an app for Apple only. So you can check that out if you don't know, but that's how you would be able to do those things. Okay, let me drag that back over. And being I stole that super source layout, I'm going to have to fix it again here. So let's go into box 2 and go back to media player here. So back to my slide real quickly. So I drew kind of some boxes. So even though there is a typo, there's only 2 downstream keys in the ATEM Mini lineup. When you get to the ATEM Mini Extreme, now you can see the difference. I've highlighted in red what changes. So you have 8 inputs, and let me turn the key off and I will join you. You have 8 inputs down here now. So 8 HDMI inputs instead of 4 in the smaller ATEM Mini lineup. Then you have 2 HDMI outputs. SDI has 4. So when they added the SDI versions of the ATEM Mini and the Pro and ISO and the ATEM Extreme and Extreme ISO, the SDIs gave them room to be able to do double the outputs. So the original SDI for the Pro SDI and the Pro SDI, the ISO SDI, they have 2 outputs instead of 1, which is what one of the features I absolutely love about my Extreme. I use one for a confidence monitor and the other for multi-view. And of course you can do that. And you know, I split it because this is normally multi-view behind me. If we cut back to this view, no, that didn't work. We cut back to me. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. So, but the monitor behind me right now, I can switch to whatever I want using the matrix on the front of my Extreme, and we'll go to the desk here in just a minute. Let me point out a couple more things over here. You have still 2 mic / line inputs, and you can change that in the software if you wanted to bring something that's line level in, or if you wanted to bring something in that's mic level. I have my lav mic, DJI lav mic, and it is line level, and so keep that in mind. It's mic level. Excuse me, and then I have line level set for coming from my Pro Rodecaster Pro. So, okay, let's continue. So down here you have 4 upstream keys. So Luma, Chroma, Pattern, and you get 2 DVEs. So in just having one picture-in-picture on the screen, you can have 2. So technically, you can do 6 boxes on the screen, and we'll talk about that here in a minute, where if you own any of the ATEM Mini lineup, you can only really do 1 box on the screen at a time. You can obviously use your downstream key to bring graphics on the screen or bring something on the screen full screen, like a video playback device, or play a video from your laptop or your screen from your laptop. And then you could put yourself in picture-in-picture. You could put a still image in picture-in-picture. But in reality, you can really only do the background layer and 1 box, where you can see right now, I'm doing this box and that box, and I can put whatever I want in this box. I can move it around the screen. I can make it whatever size I want it to be. And I can also use this box. And I'm not using either one of my DVEs at all, or picture-in-picture. So we'll talk a little bit about what I'm using here in a minute. So now you have 4 upstream keys, 2 downstream keys. So you could use 1 for your guest, a lower thirds with his name in it, 1 for you with your name in it, and you would not have to use any of your upstream keys, and you could reserve those for bringing a HyperDeck on the air, bringing a flying logo on the air. You could bring an animation on the air. You could do a transition animation. You could do all kinds of things, because you have all 4 of your upstream keys, and to be able to use those for things that you really need to add just to your program or to your live stream or to your mix, whatever it is that you're using your ATEM Mini lineup for. So in the Extreme, not only do you have 8 inputs, HDMI, 2 HDMI outputs, 2 matrix, like I already showed you. One's on the front of the device that you can do switches from the buttons of what's in HDMI 1. So if you want multi-view, you can. If you want camera 1 to make sure you're in focus and you want it to be full screen, instead of program for a minute, you could check your focus, you could check your exposure. So I love that matrix on the front of my ATEM Extreme. I have the ISO model, but the buttons are identical on the Extreme and Extreme ISO and the SDI models of those 2 devices. So then you have 4 upstream keys, 2 downstream keys, 1 headphone output. The ATEM Mini Pro ISO does not have a headphone output. So you had to run it through a monitor with a headphone output if you wanted to hear what was going on, or some other device if you wanted to hear if you had good audio from your microphone. I literally have a set of headphones right here. It's plugged into my Extreme headphone out, and I can check the audio before I go live, make sure my intro is playing, and make sure that my microphone is ready to go before I ever push live. So that's important. So before we go to the desk, the last thing down there is you have 2 media players instead of 1. What is a media player? Media player is where you put your still images. You can't play videos in it unless you get into the other devices, but you can put still images. So my beginning of my show, I use a still image all the time, and I just bring that on the air from my media player 1, and then the background that's behind me right now, because I have 2 media players, this background is a super source background, and you can see that's the next feature on our list right down there. Super source is a great feature, and I also have 2 USB outputs. So 1 USB output could be going to a disc, which I have recording ISO tracks right now from my Extreme ISO. And the other one can go to my laptop, so I can use it in a Zoom meeting. So I can fire things up and go live in Zoom with clients, and I don't have to change cables like I used to have to in my ATEM Mini Pro. And we're going to look at it here in the desk shortly. So I do want to point out that when you get to the SDI version, you can see over there on the far right, you still get the matrix, but you also get 4 SDI outputs. So double the outputs that I have in my studio. I have 2 Extreme ISOs, but they're not SDI models, they're HDMI models. But if you buy the SDI Extreme Pro or the SDI Extreme Pro ISO, you have 4 outputs. Now, I've never used a control software with them, but I'm assuming that you can do things with those 4 outputs. One of them may be limited to a few choices, so you could send that to like a stage monitor or if you were at a church worship service, you could put the projection up there. But again, I've never owned one, so I can't really talk about that. But you do have 4 SDI outputs, and they're 3G, they're not 6G. So you have 8 inputs that are SDIs, and you have 4 outputs that are SDIs. The SDI model of the Extreme and the HDMI model that I have still has 2 USB-C outs, has a headphone out, still has 2 mic inputs, but you get 4 extra keys. You get the matrix on the front for both the keys as well as the HDMI output number 1, or it would be the SDI output number 1 if you buy the SDI model. So you can see the white graphic right there. It says ATEM SDI switchers are very similar to the ATEM Mini. However, the video connections are 3G SDI, and each model has double the number of video outputs. So again, you can see my little graphic on the top far right, 2 SDI outputs on the Mini version, the ATEM Mini Pro ISO versions of the SDI, and then you have 4 SDI outputs you can see here in the middle as well on the SDI model that replaces the Extreme and the Extreme ISO. So lots of cool things. So the pros and cons then, let me quickly list those. If you're going to use an ATEM Mini Pro or a Pro ISO, then one of the cons is no headphone output. That makes no sense. You have to find another way to make sure you have good audio if you're doing a live venue. So I think that is something that I don't think is a great feature that's missing. The other thing that I think is a con on the little Mini is that you might as well buy a Pro or a Pro ISO, because not being able to record, unless you just need a switcher with some key ability in your studio, then I think you want to go for a Pro so you could record the program out, you could stream from it, you can encode from it, and I think those are some great options. So if you get the ISO model, then you can actually record every input. Same is true with the Extreme and the Extreme ISO. The SDI models, again, if you have HDMI outs in your camera, that's a con for the SDI model. I never bought one because I can come out of my HyperDeck plus HDMI now. I don't have to use the SDI outputs unless I'm doing animated graphics. So I don't need an SDI input for that. My old HyperDeck Mini, I already own converters. So I come out of that into 2 channels in my ATEM Mini Extreme. And I can come out HDMI out of my HyperDeck Studio HD Plus. And so again, the pros are the SDI outputs. But again, I would have to convert those for most of my monitors. But if you were sending a signal back to a camera and you wanted to remotely control your Blackmagic Design cameras, now those SDI inputs and SDI outputs are super valuable for like a venue that has 2 or 3 SDI enabled Blackmagic Design cameras. Now you can control the iris and all of that directly from the control software. So we're going to stop here and take a few questions. I think I covered everything so far in my slide. So let's go back to full view, multi-view behind me, so you guys will see what you normally see. And let's just dive back in the chat here and see what you guys are saying. Okay, sorry about the one typo. Let's put chat on the air. Let's see. Seeing the one photo of all the small switchers, those 3 products launch 1,000 ships on YouTube, that's for sure. Yeah, there's no question that we saw a lot of things grow through the announcements and the launching of the ATEM Mini lines. And when I say the ATEM Mini lines, I'm talking about what I have right here on my desk in camera 3. So I have my boom arm, but I have my Mini Pro right here. Let me take that chat off the air. So here's my ATEM Mini Pro, and you can see it next to my Extreme. And so I can record the program in this. This is that first one I bought, but I can't record ISO tracks unless I use this one. So right now I am recording, and I am recording ISO tracks tonight. I believe I did not verify it. and I have to reveal my streaming key to do that live. So ATEM Mini Extreme ISO, and I have another Extreme ISO next to it that I use to add extra things in my studio. So these buttons right here and right here are not available on the Mini, only on the ISO and the Pro, because they can encode and live stream. And you can see I'm not on the air on my ATEM Mini Pro, but I do have an output going into this Extreme, so I can show you the multi-view, but I don't have any cables going into right now. I do have this cable ready to go to hook up my iPhone if you want to see anything from the ATEM Mini Pro tonight. And I'm going to do a more thorough version of this stream for my channel, comparing all those. That's why I'm preparing all the slides. You guys are just getting the first look at this conversation. So, okay, chat back on the air. ATEM Mini Pro had to be the exact same video settings, resolution, and frame rate. Those were, those were game changers for sure. That's true, DJ Ware. I agree with that. Scalers as well. Yeah, I didn't say anything about scalers, but some of the devices that were available before the ATEMs came out, you had to set your camera for a specific size and resolution. I can have my camera that we're on right now set for 4K. I can hook up that HDMI into any one of my channels on my ATEM Mini Pro or my ATEM Mini Pro ISO, Extreme ISO, and it will literally automatically scale it. And what scaling means that the ATEMs broadcast at H.264, 1080p, and so I can set it at 30 or 60 frames a second, I believe. And so everything that comes in it, including your laptop, your PC, whatever you bring into it, your cameras, if you have a Sony or if you have a Canon or you have a Lumix or whatever kind of camera you have, you literally would have to change the resolution and the frame rate and all that stuff before you hooked it up. And now you don't have to worry about that. Is a great point there as well. So the additional SDI outputs on the SDI ATEMs, can they be anything? Multi-view, program, and channel feed? That I don't know for sure, but we can look at the specs on Blackmagic Design's site. So let's do this. SDI models. See if they have anything in here on the outputs. I know that a lot of people use it for the communication back to the cameras. Remember, if you have the SDI one camera and you have the SDI smaller version, the second one you could send a signal back to your camera. But in reality, I do believe that you have control over what goes out of SDI number 2, but I don't know off my head. That's a great question. 2 SDI outputs, doesn't say there. Eight SDI inputs and 4 SDI outputs for the Extreme, allowing capture of all 8 clean feed inputs, but that does not say anything about the outputs there. I don't see anything in that text right there. Connect up to 8 broadcast cameras with 4 or 8 video inputs, depending on the model. ATEM SDI lets you connect multiple cameras for different viewers of the performance. Video cameras with SDI outputs, such as Blackmagic Studio Camera or Blackmagic Ursa Broadcast G2, are much better quality as they have better low light performance. Sources will resync to the switcher even if they operate at different video standards. Everything just works, so setup on location is easy and you don't have to worry about technical problems. Imagine taking advantage of the creative freedom of a multi-camera live production for interviews, advertisements, theater productions, music performance, sports, and the more. Output webcam for video software. Again, that's the USB-C out. You have two USB-Cs on the extremes, including the SDI models, the ISO models, but you only have one USB-C on the minis, the Pro ISO, the regular Mini, and the Mini Pro SDI, and the Mini Pro SDI ISO. Let's see, live streaming via Ethernet, ATEM SDI Pro. Connect 5G or 4G phones for mobile data. Again, you can stream directly from a phone using the USB-C 1 output. So you hook your phone up to it, USB-C, and then use your phone as your streaming device. I have never tested that. Obviously, record direct to a USB flash drive. They're showing the other Samsung device on all their web page photos. So you can use that one. I've never had any problems with my Samsung ScanDisk. Again, because I think they've sped up since they originally released the ATEM Mini Pro. Edit live production with separate ISO recordings. We talked about that, right directly into the software. So you can bring those files from the ISO versions. So there's 3 ISO versions, the ATEM Mini Pro ISO, you have the Extreme ISO, and the SDI Extreme ISO. So all 3 of those can create a folder and bring all that in that one folder. Just keep in mind, that's a lot of information, and you're also going to get the blank inputs if you don't have anything hooked up to them. And if you never switch to that input, you're still going to have a recording of that input. That's great, because you might want to add that later because you didn't switch to it in your live show, but you wanted to switch to it in your edited version that you upload. Again, also, the ISO recording is great because think about this. If you wanted to do one video live because it's a long format, but you wanted to do something faster and quicker, more cuts, more edits, different camera angles, then you could do that with your ISO recordings later by bringing it into DaVinci Resolve and cutting out all the unnecessary stuff, rendering that, and then uploading it to your channel as a brand new video. So live could be an hour and a half, but your uploaded video could be a half hour, cutting to the chase. So again, I think the ISOs are a great solution for that. I know that still does not answer your question, Joe, or excuse me, yeah, Joe, but I am looking still. Add exciting video effects, work with professional microphones, automatically convert any SDI input format. We just talked about that, scaling, secret broadcast features built in. Why ATEM SDI is easy to use. It also has very powerful high-end broadcast features. ATEM SDI is even perfect for training new live production crews, as it has the same features as the massive switchers used in large broadcast studios. You get an ATEM Advanced Chroma Key, Fairlight Audio Mixer, DVE, Still Store for graphics, as much more. Simply run the free ATEM software control app on Mac or Windows with it connected via USB or Ethernet to access the extended features of the ATEM SDI. And that's true with the other ATEMs as well. You're going to use the control software. And again, they're talking about this software, and the interface changes. Let me pull this over. Why will it not pull over these days? Come on. It's stuck now between my prompter and let me try this side. So this is the control software, and if you have an Extreme, it's going to show you those inputs. It's going to show you the keys. Now, if I go in and connect to my Pro, I'm still streaming from the device, but now I have control of my Pro. And again, I'm not showing you anything, but you can see it's got camera 3 on my Canon 5D Mark III. I labeled that, and you can see that it doesn't have the keys highlighted. It only has one downstream key here. You don't even see the other key. It's not even grayed out like these are grayed out. All of these buttons are grayed out. And when you go to the bigger consoles, you'll even have more inputs that are available right here. And again, you only see the preview, 4 inputs, and the program 4 inputs. And then you can see over here, no super source button down up here and no super source button down there. But if I go back and connect to my main program live unit, you can see now we have super source right here, and I'm using it. That's what we're looking at right now. And I have 2 boxes enabled, but I could go up to 4 boxes. And with that said, let's go back. Let me pull this back over. It's gonna always have to do this, I guess. And let's go back to me and a logo, and let's see what other questions we have. So I don't know the answer to that yet, Joe. I will have to get that and bring that up just to make sure. I don't have one to test. So if you fire that SDI up in your studio, open up the control software, you're going to get the answers to that right away. So I will do research and get you guys that answer in the live stream and in my video that I'll be uploading. I'll make sure that I find that out for my uploaded video. I just got an ATEM 2ME Constellation HD for church. Looking forward to setting it up. So David has got a, that's the rack mounted version. So 2MEs means that it would have double the inputs and double the keys. So a 2ME, I just showed you, man, that's best way to do that is to show this again. So this, and we got to get rolling here. It's getting late. So this is 1ME right here. If you had a 2ME, there's going to be a program row, preview row, and another program row below it, and a preview row. And if you watch Aaron Precky's channel, he has one. And so when he shows his control software for his AC console, did you say console? Let's go back to chat on the air. ATEM 2ME Constellation HD. So again, you're going to have 2 of these sections on that device. And so I don't know how they interact. I don't know how you bring them live. I've never played with one, so it'll be exciting maybe to see, David, if you can answer some of the questions for the rest of us when you get that thing going in your venue. So, okay. Great to have you, Eric, joining us. He says hi to David. Actually, David joining us. David, it's good to have you. The SSD you're holding was all over the news for data loss. Careful. Yeah, I haven't had any data loss. I saw that as well. Thank you for that heads up. But I think that's because of the slower versions that a lot of people were buying, as well as there's knockoffs on Amazon. Walmart even has like a knockoff, it looks like, version. I buy all of my SDs from Best Buy here locally and pay a little bit more. And I've had a couple clients buy them from Costco, which is a wholesale outlet. They've had no issues. Have a couple venues using them. So, but thank you for that heads up. Those ScanDisk with orange keychain loop have been canceled, recalled. Look it up. People lost a lot of data. They have a fault after a certain number of write cycles. So that one right there. So this is my wife's SD drive that we use for her podcast, but I've already backed all this up, and I don't even use this anymore when I record. I use a faster model, but you can see I have more than one of those. This is my older ATEM Extra, but now I am using the ones that I have plugged in are the newer 1,000 megabyte a second. So I will definitely keep my eye on that. I don't want to lose all my data, that's for sure, but I've had absolutely no issues with them. I have an ATEM Mini Extreme. I would like to add one HyperDeck for video clip playback and or recording. Which HyperDeck model would you recommend, Hank? I would recommend, let me show you this device real quick on Blackmagic's site. Go back to products, go to HyperDecks, and let's switch back to me and my laptop. So the HyperDeck Studio HD Mini does not have key and fill. That's the top one, sells for $495. I run in my studio the HyperDeck Studio HD Plus. If you want to do 60 frames per second, 4K, then you got to go over here for the 4K. The Pro model is the bigger device up here. It has these kind of discs available as well. I like the SSD double disc cards, so this HyperDeck Studio HD Plus is what I recommend. It has an HDMI input and HDMI output. So if you just want to bring your camera in it and then come out into your ATEM Mini, you can do it that way. If you want to do full motion graphics with a key, then you'll want to actually use the two SDI outputs. So you'll have to convert them because the alpha channel and the B channel, A and B SDI outputs, the first one, A, is a fill source and the B is a key source. And that's how you do animated graphics. That's how you do the animated stingers. If you want to go transition from a video to another video and have a stinger transition in between, that's 3 HyperDecks. But you can play video back. You can play animated graphics. You can play your lower third logo. I think I have it here in my ATEM Mini, my old version. No, I actually think I brought that in tonight. Let me see if it's here. Yeah. So here is my stinger. So let me grab my iPhone here. That's going to be channel 6. Actually, let me just put this on the screen. So here is I have my HyperDeck hooked up. I have my stinger in it. I'm going to show you the fill channel and the key channel right now in this right box. So let me go into my control software here. Change what's in box 2. I'm going to go to fill first. So that is my stinger. And then now I will insert the key. And the key is going to be white. And that's designed to key out the background. So I'm just showing you both layers. You never see this layer because it's plugged into channel 8 in my extreme HDMI ISO. And so that's what plays behind this layer, which is what everybody sees. But that back layer cuts it out. So if you use the new HD Plus, Hank, and you hook up SDI A and SDI B, SDI A is going to look like this when you have a graphic made, and you and I could work out building a stinger for you. So I'll render it with an alpha, with a key channel, and the key channel is going to simply look like this. And I have auto roll on, so it automatically rolls, but I hit stop. So that's the key layer. That's what goes behind it to cut out the background. And then if there's anything transparent in the foreground, then there's nothing behind it, like my shirt would not show through because this white layer would be cutting it out before the transparent layer goes over it. That's why having a alpha channel or a key channel, A and B, is so important, because if that went over my shirt, the white layer, which is right there, goes over the shirt first. And if I could turn my hand around and blend them, then the fill layer comes over it. So you don't get, if it's transparent, like my fingers are transparent right now, then where the fingers are, you wouldn't get the weird red shirt moire coming through. And so that's why you need to have, for animated graphics, a key channel, which is that channel. And because we're teaching tonight, that is, let's replay it. Stop. Let's do this again. And that's the same for my subscribe logo. Same thing. The subscribe logo has both layers. Channel 2 will go to the key layer. I want to hit stop. So there's the key layer and back to the fill layer. So that's what plays in the background when I use a key to bring this in pre-multiplied into my live stream. And there's videos on my channel to teach you all how to do that. So that's alpha and fill, and that's the one I recommend. Hank, for you is this version right here called the HyperDeck Studio AC Plus, sells for $695, and that's going to give you a headphone out, a little speaker on the front. You have a remote button on the front to turn on and off remote start. That's what makes it play every time I switch to it. So if you didn't want it to play, you could turn that remote button off. Like I did, all that switching was hitting stop. If I hit the remote button on the front of my HyperDeck, and now I go back and do that again, change the input to my HyperDeck key, it doesn't play because I have a remote button on the front that I can stop it from playing. I don't know why I was fighting it. I just hit the remote button and then I can demo both of those channels, and those videos are not going to roll because I have pre-roll off. Now, if I hit that remote button again, now if I go back and show you the 8 channel, which is the key, it's going to roll. You can't see it rolling, but it's going to disappear here in a minute. And if I go back to this layer, it's going to disappear and roll. So literally it's playing with the remote on, and it's cutting out the background, and that's why you have to have a key and fill if you want to do animated graphics. So again, that's the one I recommend. The new HD version does not have, has HDMI in, HDMI out, but it does not have a key and fill built into it. So be aware. But this one, and this one all do, as well as these on the bottom. This is a controller, but this is a 4K, and this is an 8K HyperDeck with the big screens built into the front of them, where all of these have these baby screens, and you really want to monitor it. So the other thing too, Hank, is that if you hook up the SDI out of this HyperDeck Studio HD Plus, you'll get information on the screen. How long the video's played, what format it is, 1080p, 2997. I'm literally looking at it. If I rendered it ProRes, the codecs on the screen, it tells me what SD card it's on. It tells me which one's playing. It also tells me that which HyperDeck, when I name them, which one's on my screen. So I actually get information. It's not available in the HDMI out. That's a clean out. And the SDI out can be clean. You have to turn it on and off inside the firmware, inside the HyperDeck shuttle, the HyperDeck Studio HD Plus. The other thing is they make the shuttle, and the shuttle is pretty much like this device right here. It does not have SDI in and out, or SDI out, A and B for keyed out graphics. It has an HDMI in and HDMI out, and the shuttle also has a teleprompter feature. You can go in the menu and change it to teleprompter, and you can load in the SD card RTX files that you can build in Word. You export them as an RTX file instead of a Word document file, and whatever you have in Word will now become a teleprompter file. You load that on an SD card, put it in the shuttle, and then change it to teleprompter. And so basically in the menu where you can change codecs, the very bottom of the menu is teleprompter. So you can change the codecs that it's playing back from, recording to, and then you can also at the very bottom of that list change it between teleprompter and not teleprompter. So then you have the Blackmagic duplicator, and that gives you the ability to just duplicate discs. And then they have things like this Blackmagic multi-dock 10G SDI, and then you can record in all of these monitors, and you can play back from them as well, but they're not HyperDecks, and I don't think you can automate them. The other thing that's really cool about HyperDecks is that you can automate them with macros. You can control them in your control software, and so that's why I like HyperDecks. I can't start and stop a video on my iPad or a MacBook or whatever. But I can start, unless I use Companion and start and stop using a Stream Deck, but I can make a macro to change to this camera view, this super source view. The macro can launch my HyperDeck and it can play in that window just like I was playing before. It can all be programmed as a macro because you can integrate up to 4 HyperDecks in all of the ATEM models. So up to 4. If you want to do more HyperDecks than that, then you'd have to have 2 decks in, or 2 ATEMs in your studio. Okay, let's bust through the rest of these questions here. Chat on the air. So that answers Hank's question. Lots of things grew with the ATEM mini lines, including my waistline. Good to have you, Drago. Keith, we had a shoot where the ATEM SDI Extreme ISO was showing SDI ISO recording active, but there was no writing going on. That sounds to me like a disk issue. Scan disk 1 terabyte, so we lost all the data. Seems like it froze. Okay, so let's just do this. Let's use, let me go back to this real quick here. So let's officially let everybody know that I am going to recommend exactly what Blackmagic Design is recommending. So I would look at their list of compatible SDI drives, and I will not be buying any more of those after this live stream. So let's just recommend what they say are the best if you're watching this video. And I appreciate all of that input because I don't want to lead people down the wrong path. So thank you for that, Drago. We use HyperDeck HD Plus version with our SDI Extreme ISO. That's cool, yeah. And so, Drago, that's right, because you have SDI inputs, so you don't have to buy, if you want to use the HyperDeck with key and fill, you don't have to buy any converters. And so I've literally thought about adding a SDI Mini Pro ISO on the end of my chain. So my Extreme, then a SDI Pro ISO, or yeah, SDI version, hook my HyperDecks into that, and then a Web Presenter Pro on the end of that. And that's what Aaron Parecki did before he bought his actually, I think he bought the 4 ME instead of the 2 ME, but I can't remember exactly. So good advice. And obviously, if you have an SDI, you can just plug your HyperDecks directly into them. But remember, key and fill takes 2 inputs. So if you just want to play a video back, you can play it back through 1. I do that all the time when I'm playing my intros. That's channel 7 in my ATEM Mini Extreme ISO. But if you want key and fill, it's playing both channels simultaneously. One's behind, cutting out the background, like chroma keying out the green in the background. It's cutting out my shirt or whatever it's flying over the monitor back there as it flies across the screen. So 2 SDI inputs if you have an SDI model. 2 HDMIs have to be converted from SDI to HDMI. And this is the other direction. This is HDMI to SDI. You would have to do an opposite conversion, SDI to HDMI, if you were using it with a regular ATEM HDMI model or a Web Presenter Pro. So, okay. I don't think my comment came through. Doug Johnson put out a video on YouTube about SDI drives for ATEMs. Yeah, I think I saw that video. I had the issue you described with the ISO recording. If the drive isn't fast enough or sustained right, it isn't stable. Yeah, again, anytime, guys, that you're recording ISO tracks, and remember, most of the time when I'm recording on these discs, I'm not recording all 8 inputs. It records all 8 inputs, but if I had like this view on the screen on every single channel, it might have an issue because, again, the encoding is easier if it's just a still image than it is if it's a video image. So keep that in mind. It has to encode every single channel. And so you got to have a fast SD drive. And the Samsung ScanDisk now have drives that are over, I think, 1,300 megabytes a second available now online, but I have not tested those. I have recorded to 1,000 megabyte a second drive, and that's what I'm using right now to record to from my Extreme ISO. And I don't do that many ISO recordings, mainly only when I'm recording a video in here and I want to edit the whole thing later. I try to produce everything I can live when I can. Okay, let's continue on here. What is recommended? We have the T7 on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera rig, and it froze 1.2. The T is no longer available. So it sounds to me like Blackmagic Design is pushing the envelope with their ISO recorders for sure. And I'm sure that's why they added M2 drives to the new console versions. Makes a lot of sense if you think about it, but they're supposed to be able to record to an SD drive as well. So make sure you test your SD cards before you are using it for a client. Testing, in Doug's testing, the Crucial X8 was the best. So there you go. Great recommendation, Joe. Okay, thanks all. Did resolve your issue. Yes, for sure. Watch the video though. It explains why. So good recommendations happening here behind the scenes. Okay, we'll do after this. DP was away from the switcher. That's never good. Recording was lost. Stream was dropped. Both. Yeah, the rack mounted one. That's what David said earlier. That's what he's going to be using at the church. That's the same one I think Aaron Precky has. He may have the 4 ME, not the 2. I can't remember. I know that he was concerned about channels, so we'll have to go back and check what Aaron Precky has in his channel. Okay, different topic, laugh out loud. If the stream dropped to the encoder, might have crashed. Could be the encoder crashing. Yeah, it froze, we rebooted, worked fine after. Now, I've had an issue here in the studio, just FYI, of my ATEM not going live, and I have to reboot it. It's happened to me twice or 3 times now, right before I go live. I just had a client have that happen. It would not stream for a morning service. It's happened to them twice out of the last year. So I don't know if the ATEM Extreme that they have is getting old or mine's getting old. I do have my backup, so I can flip it to the priority streaming version. So who knows? They might just be getting old and dying over time. Okay, let me see. Lots of conversation. The Western Digital website has a list of affected models. Cool. Good that you guys are having some conversations going on in the background. Okay. If I want to stay with HDMI, will I need two converters? Yes. So you'll need 2 SDI to HDMI converters, and Hank, I would go ahead and buy the new bi-directional ones. I think they fixed all the bugs, and or make sure you're buying the newest versions of the SDI to HDMI. They have a USB-C port in them, not the older version of the USB ports. So, and usually the newest versions are all that's available. I think Blackmagic Design has updated all of their converters now. There's a Behringer in a rack. I've worked with Behringer too. I have the free version of HDR graphics. I've never used it in my studio. I've played with it in the studio because I focus on using graphics in my ATEM. When I'm live, I haven't used it when I'm live, but it's a great tool. Again, that's H2R graphics. There is a paid version. I think there's a free version. And then there's other software that John Barker's made. Here to Record is his channel. And so check that out. If you've never been over to John Barker's site or Aaron Precky's site, I highly recommend that you check out what they're doing. Okay, so let me do this before we wrap up. Let's do, let's see. Do me and my slideshow here. And then I'm going to change what's in box 2 again to my camera 3. So you guys can see that. So, and I'm going to switch mics here real quick. Testing 1, 2. So I'm on my lav mic here just to get that out of the way. I just wanted to talk about, I did a video on the matrix. I will find that video. And it was one of my live streams. So this matrix that works with the keys, I cover that. I'm not going to talk about that tonight. This is the matrix I was talking about. You have a small one right here for the Pro to change what's in HDMI out 1, and there's only one HDMI out of the Mini Pro. This is not the ISO. This is the Pro. I can go on air, off air, record, stop recording if I have a SD drive hooked up to it, which we've been talking about, and then on and off with the key. So that's available. I have the matrix to change what I see on my monitor. So if I want multi-view, I can have it, but I can also do checks for the other cameras, 1, 2, 3, and 4 input. And I can also just see the program. If I want to switch between multi-view and a confidence monitor, then I can do that so I can see what's live a lot larger and bigger. I used splitters back when I had my ATEM Mini Pro. You guys know the story, and switches. I had lots of those suckers floating around my studio, and I still use a couple. These are the switchers. I had an 8K version that didn't work. I can't find any of the old splitters. They're in the drawer, I think. So that gave me the ability to have a monitor over here and a monitor over there, but they had the same thing on it. And the switches, so I could bring more inputs into my ATEM Mini Pro. I did that by having 2 inputs. And this is a trick I taught lots of people in the early days. Many people already knew this. Man, how can it disappear? There's too much stuff in this drawer. There it is. So I still have a couple of these live in the studio. I can switch between my Mini and my old HyperDeck Mini and my new HyperDeck HD Plus. So if I want to put my Mini on the screen, I can just hit the button and it takes that input and puts it out to my monitor. And if I want my HyperDeck Shuttle or my actually HD Plus, it's on this side, and this is just a basic switch. It doesn't have to be powered, and so I can just switch between those 2 inputs. So one input in the ATEM could then be 2 different devices, but the only way to switch to them was to push this button, and there was a 2-second delay. It's not instantaneous when you have one of these switches. Let's go back to this, and then I'll have to change what's in box 2 again. So I don't think that's in focus, but this was called a switch. It was 4K 60 hertz, and it's VWRHAR. And on some of my old videos, these links are on there. So, okay, so let's go back to me in the slideshow and fix this again to output 3. Okay, so just want to say that matrix right here on the extreme. You have 8 inputs, 2 HDMI outputs. That's super important. We talked about that. But look at all the buttons you get. I'm bringing this extreme number 2 in channel 1 and 2, or no, 3 and 4. So I can decide which one of these inputs over here I want to come in 1 and 2. And that's what I'm doing tonight. And so one of those is my overhead camera that you're looking at right now. It's coming into this channel right here. It's not live because I'm bringing it in from the other deck, and it's going directly to one of my outputs. And so I can just bring it into the super source, and it doesn't go live here. If I hit it live here, then it would be the main view. And if I hit auto, now the still image is my main view because it's cutting to the still image, and now you have back on my desk. So all of these are camera controls. All of these are audio controls for each channel. You have mic 1, mic 2. Oh, let's turn this off. So there's no echo. I don't know how that keeps, every time I hit a button somewhere in a macro, it switches this back on. So I'm on the lab mic again right now. So the matrix up here, matrix here, you have macro buttons. So you do not have these on the little ATEM minis. I did not put that on my pro list, but that's a pro. That means that my first 6 macros, I'll be able to activate right here on the front of the switcher. That's huge. There's more transitions available to you. You still have control over how fast a transition is, half a second, second and a half, 2 seconds. I have the ability to change DVE. Because it comes with 2 DVEs, you have a 2 DVE choice. So you still have the ability to go right, left top, right, left bottom. You got the middle left, and you've got 2 button right here. So you can bring both your DVEs on the air at the same time. And remember I said there's a super source. So I'm in super source right now, which is also a pro feature on the ATEM Extremes, also available in the SDI and the ISO models. But the super source is not available in the ATEM Mini line. And that means I can bring 4 boxes on the air through super source. And I can also position them size or anywhere on the screen. I can put this background in the back, or I can bring this in the front. So if I wanted to make a graphic with a hole right here and a graphic with a hole right there, transparent, put my name down there and the other person's name over there on the bottom, then I could do all of that without using any of my keys. I can just make the graphic in the foreground, and as long as it's transparent and my box is the right size, then you would see me. And I did that in my first interview with Adam Tao here on the channel, who created Mix Effects. So you can go back and watch that video, and I really literally brought Adam Tao on the air through Zoom in a box over there, and I had a foreground graphic with my name and his name and some cool Mix Effects graphics on the screen. And I did that using a foreground graphic, and I think that's the only time I can remember ever using a foreground graphic. But you can also bring the DVEs on the air at the same time. And I think I have one of these set. Let's look at channel 2. Yeah, channel 2 is set on the air. So there's the DVE, and that's the chat. And let's see what's in key number 3. It's a DVE, and we'll make that my, let's make that my first camera. It's timed out here, so let's turn it back on. So just to prove that you can bring 2 DVEs on the air at the same time, there you go. I have super source in the background. I have 2 DVEs on the top. And I could still add 2 more super source items in on the screen at the same time. So that's a huge positive thing. So that means, guys, that I could have myself and I could have all those guests on the air at the same time. And I could create a different foreground graphic for, I could have maybe just me and Adam on the air. That would be 2 boxes. Then add John Barker. That would be 3 boxes. And every time I switched to that, I would change the foreground graphic and the positions of everything to match it. And it would already have all the fonts built into the graphics. So again, I can bring all those DVDs on the air, and I can also go back into Super Source and bring box 3 on. You can see it in the background right there, peeking in. And I could also bring box 4 on the air. And these are background graphics. So we'll make that my HyperDeck. Let's play something in that. And there it is, playing in the background. And I can size that up and down, that box, make it very small, and then bring that where you guys can just see it peeking through right there. Try that again, right there. And it's on the air. So there's literally 6 boxes on the air right now. Some of them are in the background, and you could use all of those. I'll turn those back off. So again, all of those things could be on the air at the same time. That's only available if you have an extreme ISO, extreme SDI, or extreme SDI ISO. So wanted to make that very clear. So ATEM Mini, small and compact, limited buttons, limited inputs, limited outputs. You do gain that second output if you buy the SDI model, which would be great. But lots of inputs on the extreme, and lots of inputs in the new 2ME models that you talked about tonight as well. So again, lots of things that are pretty cool about the ATEMs. So let's get back to this mic, and both of those came on again, so I'll have to fix those macros. So want to wrap it up by saying that the ATEM Mini lineup is a great lineup. I love the SDI models. I think that's a great solution for people that want to use it. Massive options now. That's just 3. If you count all the options, you have 2 SDI models and you have 2 extreme models. And so you do the math, that's 4, 5, 6, 7 different models available. So you have SDI outputs available. You have the Mini with SDI outputs available. It does all of these conversions automatically in all the models, and just really, really cool what you're able to do. You have a gigantic multi-view available. You can change all those boxes. You can do 1 big box or 4 little boxes in all of those quadrants. But if you buy the original ATEM Mini Pro ISO, you have a preset multi-view available that's not available in the Mini. And then the last slide I wanted to show you guys is this slide right here. So there's SuperSource. That is a graphic with 4 people in the boxes. That's an overlay graphic in the foreground. And you can see they've cropped each one of those people, and then they brought them into the live stream using a foreground graphic. And again, that is the incredible power of SuperSource. So there you go. We are 2 hours, Joe. Extra points for me tonight. I am tired. It's been a long evening, but I am blessed to have you guys with me. Christmas at the Bennetts earlier tonight. We talked about the acquisition of Mackie being brought into Rode's network. That's going to be exciting. And we've kind of looked at some pros and cons to the ATEM Mini lines. And again, it just depends on which one works for you. If you just want to switch, the ATEM Mini is great. If you want to stream and record the program, you can use the ATEM Mini Pro. If you want to get SDI hookups and an extra out, you can grab the Mini Pro SDI version. If you want to do ISO recording, you have the ability to buy the ATEM Mini Pro ISO. You have the ability to buy the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO, and you have the ability to buy the ATEM Mini Extreme SDI ISO. And then you can also buy the new consoles that came out last year. And there's even more options. And now you have the brand new console versions of the ATEM Minis with more outputs, as well as M.2 disc built in. And they also have streaming bridges built into those models as well. And we'll talk more about those again next year. But thank you so much for joining me for tonight's live stream. We will take one last look here at the chat and see if there's anything left that we need to say here. Very cool live streaming. A jerk chicken go well together. Wow. I must have missed that conversation earlier. Joe is building a new portable rack. That's really cool. I'd love to see a video on that, Joe. Yeah, HDR graphics. If they did key and fill, it would be a great unit. So would OBS. Technically, you know, you don't really do motion graphics in OBS, mostly stationary graphics. So Drago uses Ultra Studio with HDR graphics, works ideal for graphics and lower thirds, etc. You're welcome, Hank. Gonna have to start having you guys put questions or comments, a Q in front of your text. It just makes me not take time to read all of these conversations back and forth. Let's see, that's Drago and Joe talking mostly here. Good to have you, Randy. Joining us. I do not have a review comparing the ATEM Mini Extreme SDI versus the 2ME HD. I can tell you that the 2ME HD has more outputs, so keep that in mind. That gives you great ability to do camera control and things like that. Also, the ability when you get to the console version, to have an MT drive built into the ISO model and the HD model, which record the program. So yeah, so that looks like all the comments. So guys, I am going to wrap up tonight. Thank you so much for joining me for tonight's live stream. I will be live again next week. One of the nights, the last two before Christmas, we're going to go live from the ATEM Mini Pro from the living room, which you saw in my video today. So you can go back and watch the intro and see some footage of my living room. If you want to do the walkthrough of my house with all the decorations, you can also watch the video during tonight's live stream. That was in the first third of tonight. The second third, we talked about Rode acquiring Mackie. And the last part, we've been talking mainly ATEM Mini lineup, pros and cons. So I will try to, in my video I'm going to upload, have a list of the pros, list of the cons for each of the models, so you guys can come back and check that out. So good to have you guys, and thank you for those kind words. Again, please hit the like. Please subscribe if you haven't already. If you're chatting tonight, you have subscribed, because I have subscribe only enabled. That's mainly just to cut out conversations and people that aren't really interested in being here, spam and things like that. That's the only reason that's enabled. But if you subscribe, 1 minute later, you get to chat with us. And that should be proof that I want everybody to join us in chat, just trying to cut out any chance of any spam. So great. Well, it's been another great night. 2 hours are gone. Thank you for joining me. I will see you guys all next Tuesday night. We have great stuff to talk about, some things I didn't even get to cover tonight because of the announcement about Rode and Mackie. So we'll get to that next week, and I hope you guys will join me, and we'll try to have more Christmas display going on in here. And who knows, there may be a special guest on next week's live stream. He could be a rascal, but he is probably going to be here next week. So stay tuned for that. Again, I am Keith. This is Life Journey Production Studios. Thank you for joining me. Be safe. And if I don't see you again, have a great Christmas, great Hanukkah, whatever you're celebrating. I hope you have a great time with your family, and you decorate and have a good time in the snow if you get any, and hang out and have a good time away from your monitor or your iPhone or whatever you're watching this on. So thank you, and I will see you very soon. Again, please hit the like to help me get these videos out. Until then, be safe. Wow. Should probably roll my outro. How about this one? Is it not going to roll my outro?